What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about OSCR Health. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it and why right now might be a pretty good time to buy. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So OSCR Health is down 0.66%, so nothing too crazy, especially considering most of the market is quite red. 1612 the low, 1678 the high, and very low volume though. So 3.1 million shares being traded. A couple of things that's really affecting the broader market. One is just a lot of fears that was rolling over from last week in regards to just the AI and tech stocks just being somewhat overvalued. Plus, we did have New York State Manufacturing Index coming in this morning at negative 3.9, so shows more of a contraction. Forecast for that was 11, so that definitely was out of left field. Market doesn't really like that. Plus, at the same time, you're seeing more of a liquidity pinch. And what I mean by that is the upcoming decision rate, Bank of Japan's interest rate decision, which is Thursday evening. A lot of eyes are on that. Currently, there is a 25 basis point increase on the table. And not only that, this is kind of anticipated the first of many. So 2026 will be a year of increasing for Japan. And what this means is, like I said, a liquidity pinch. So a lot of money from the bond market is going to be exiting and most likely cycling back to Japan for fixed income and so forth. And then as a domino, that is going to cause more of a liquidity pinch within the equity. So this is why a lot of stocks are experiencing lower volume. Aside from that, there really hasn't been too much as far as updates from OSCR. So last news did come out on last Friday, but nothing really crazy if you ask me. So it's been more linked to the technicals as well as just piggybacking off the broader market. One thing I do want to bring up though is shorts. And so at the time of doing this video, shorts are increasing 201,000 shares. So in comparison to the overall volume, kind of low, but 13.1% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 29.15 million shares overall being shorted. So I just will make this a little bit bigger so you guys can kind of like see it better. But ultimately this red line right here shows the number of shares on loan. And this kind of yellowish green, whatever line is, that shows number of shares being shorted as a percentage of the free float. So ultimately, you can kind of see whenever it does dip and it has this weird inversion, that usually is a sign of naked shorting. I know it's very difficult to prove and all that, but if there is more shares being shorted than on loan, that's how it is, right? And usually what follows this is a lot of FTDs. So these kind of columns right here and these lines, that is FTDs, failure to delivers. So potentially when it comes down to this, how we are right now, there is not only signs of naked shorting occurring right now, but potentially what might be coming next is a lot of FTDs. And then that is going to cause the stock price to go up quite considerably. So in general, this is why I said at the very beginning, right now might be a good time to potentially buy. You guys do your own due diligence. Normally, I don't like to kind of get you guys to buy or sell, but if the data is kind of signaling that there's some sketchiness going on, it might be time to buy. One thing as well that just came out, so we did get a $25 buy that was done by like 19 days ago. Piper Sandler, Jessica, who has a 38% success rating. I'm pretty sure that was actually the last time I did a OSCR video. But aside from that, we did get one about 4 days ago, $17 initiated coverage. Stephens, that's the firm. And then Kyle, who has a 51% success rating. As a consensus, 1622 is that price target, representing a 1.7% downside, which is rather interesting because like a lot of analysts hate OSCR Health. And I think generally that's what Wall Street does. They hate innovative, disruptive companies, and OSCR definitely does meet that criteria. So all in all, I feel like analysts are going to be turning a little bit more bullish in the foreseeable future, thus really kind of pushing it higher. Aside from all that, if you actually want all this information completely free, sign up for IBKR, link in the description below and also the comments. And I think at this day and age, every trader does need access to at least one broker that allows overnight trading. And IBKR has the biggest list out there of available stocks. So really recommend people kind of signing up. I've linked to that in the description below. But moving on from here, looking at the options, This is kind of lower volume, similar to the common stock. So 674,000 in calls, 325,000 in puts. 62% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. Most of that probably is just linked to the broader market kind of concerns. From a bull standpoint, you see consensus for it to be roughly around $18. And it looks like January onwards, so January 9th and then onwards, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around $20 and above. So kind of good to see for that. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 15.50 to 16. So definitely there is a lot more upside than down. Right now though, we aren't really seeing that much in institutional transactions. So 0 transactions on the secondary market and a handful on the dark pool. And a lot of these are linked to shorts as well as hedge funds. A lot of the hold numbers like 40,000, for instance, 25,000, those most likely are going to be the hedge funds, and everything else like the 54,000 and change, that's going to be shorts and whatever else. But aside from that, with it at 1647, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 1410 and then 1657 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. Aside from that, popping over to the chart, you actually see some articles coming out talking about OSCR's technicals on how it is right now able to fight above and get above that 200-day moving average. That actually was somewhat tested today with our low, but that 200-day moving average is sitting at 1607. So just watch for that to hold that kind of orangish line right there. But right now, I think for face value, OSCR in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks is doing pretty good. If it is going to break below that 200-day moving average because of kind of macro fears, this is where you could see similar price action to what happened in November. So first week of November when it started just to sell off, that same type of price action could potentially happen. But like I said, there's a lot of sketchiness happening behind the scenes and a lot of good reasons to buy OSCR. I've been selling a lot of puts. So for those of you that don't know options, if you actually were going to be buying any stock that you like, just consider selling a put, because that way you get a premium and you can kind of buy it for the price that you ideally want. So I have been selling a lot of $15, $14, $13 strike puts. So if it does break below that price, I buy it. So not only do I get the premium, but I get to buy it at a cheaper price. So it's a win-win if you ask me. Very good for individuals wanting to kind of dollar cost average. Looking at the market position, you see a little bit more willing sellers in comparison to Friday, but all the broader market needs is a nice gentle push. Then you could see a nice recovery to at least that 100-day moving average, and that's currently sitting at 1734. So all in all, I believe OSCR is one of those stocks that is a good candidate for the buy the dip type of scenario. And plus, like I said, with naked shorting and a lot of FTDs to follow, that usually will result in the stock price moving higher. So let me know your thoughts on OSCR Health. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, if you're looking for some solid on point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my stacked account. I just made this a couple weeks back. And so yeah, if you're looking for swing trades, day trades, or just all buy signals in general, I have 101 kind of members for that. Pop over there, sign up. A lot of them are on point, the signals. So link to that is in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.